Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to the next movie review. So, yeah, I figured I would eventually see this. I would, yeah. Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Destiny. You know, I'm glad this film was bombing. I really am. Because I guess will Disney learn anything? Probably not, because it's like, well, even though this is a big part of a big franchise, expect a big film like a big name like this to bomb, right? Like I said, it was a big mistake for Lucasfilms to be bought by Disney. They ruined the Star Wars movies with that trilogy, and recently Disney's animated movies have been bombing too, and this movie too now. It's just like Disney doesn't learn from their mistakes. They don't. They just don't care. And there's a reason why all the ones that's been bombing, they've been losing money over this crap. Either because of the wokeness or whatever, because that's how Disney is a political thing for wokeness and all this stuff. Because you've seen it like in why Lightyear bombed, why Strange World bombed, right, and just. But that's all on tangent. But Indiana Jones 5, was bound not to like this movie because when I saw it from the trailer a while back, I ranted on that. It was just a pointless movie. I mean, just because of the name. And the thing is, though, Harrison Ford is 80 years old now. She should just retired, and I knew the probably was going to screw one thing up for the ending, because, okay. I just want to recap again. I grew up with the Indiana Jones movies. I enjoy Raiders of the Lost Ark. Classic. Temple of Doom, I liked. I thought it's a prequel, yes. I harp on prequels, though, but this one I did like. And I just feel, this film just wants to put me to sleep, because that's one of the major issues with this movie, is that it's so boring. You wouldn't expect that from an Indiana Jones film movie to be so boring, right? Anyway, but I like Temple of Doom regardless. And then Last Crusade. This one is my favorite of the series. Rest in peace, Sean Connery. For playing his father. Junior. Yeah, this one's my favorite. I love the Last Crusade. Then this one I feel is very underrated, which, it's funny, people give this film so much hate, and when you look at this film, I think people need to rethink their thoughts on what they feel about this movie compared to this movie. If they say this movie is better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I will not understand that. People gave this film so much hate. Yeah, there is some issues I have with the movie. Like, first of all, there are more issues, but it's the nitpicks, I would say. Nitpicks. I mean, yeah, with the CGI gophers you could have left out, and then, yeah, the whole dumb thing with Shia LaBeouf swinging from the vines of the trees with the monkeys. That was silly. I think they just could have left that part out, though. But other than that, though, and compared to with this movie, which had so much more CGI compared to this, yeah, there was CGI in this, though, but there were still practical things in this movie still. And I think Steven Spielberg still did a good job with the movie, and I enjoy the characters, of Shia LaBeouf's, of Mutt. John Hurt, Ray Winston, Kate Blanchett, the return of Karen Allen as Marion Ravenwood from the Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, cool nods. You know, in the beginning of the film in the warehouse when he crashed through those crates, and you see the Ark and a busted up box it was in. Cool nod to the first movie because it's the Ark, you know. And yes, I know that people probably still hate the whole nuke the fridge scene and the whole alien story about it. When you compare it to this, though, I mean, they say it's a dial of destiny. It's time. I'm not referring to this in this movie. When they say it's a dial of destiny, it's time travel. Okay, let's just be real. How the way they put it, it's time travel. And Harrison Ford. And that's one thing. Why I say he mentioned how he's 80 years old and he should retire, though. But the thing is, though, this film kept on harping, oh, he's old, you know, and nobody listens to him and all that stuff. He's old. They kept on hammering that in on that. I get it, though. But the thing is, though, just compared to it's night and day compared with this and this movie. But I'll get to all that stuff in when I'm talking about it. And yeah, so this film is bombing badly. It's another loss for Disney. It goes to show that Disney does not learn. You know, do we need a fifth one in the first place? No, we didn't. I think the ending of this film ended it perfectly. You know, with Indy finally marrying Ravenwood, and he has a son now, and then I'll get to what happens will lead to that. And I could tell, I probably would guarantee that they had to do some changes to the story, especially because there were some articles saying because because Karen Allen does come back in the ending of this movie, and she was disappointed at how lack of screen time that she had. So obviously there was obviously some changes to the story more. So, I don't know why this film was so boring. That's the thing. I was so bored when I was falling asleep. And yet, this film, that's the thing. This film was over 2.5 hours. I was so sick and tired of movies being over 2 hours or close to 2.5 hours. I'm so sick and tired because movie just drags on and it feels so boring. You know, that's what it was. I wouldn't expect to see an Indiana Jones movie to be so boring, right? And the thing is also, it's not only the film itself, but it's the director, James Mangold. To me, he was the wrong choice of director. You know, thing is though, all four of these were well directed by Steven Spielberg. Okay, to me, this is his franchise, and I think to me, they should not have made the movie if Steven Spielberg was not going to direct it again. That's number one. Number two, it's not. We know that, and I knew that it was not going to be the film. The film itself in this movie, it looked like a Disney movie more than, you know, with Paramount. Or to me, like I said, these films are just how to describe this. The look of the movie, okay, just the look of the movie, it's a Disney movie compared to the looks of these movies, right? This, what I can say, it's more Disneyfied. If that doesn't make any sense, it's just how I see how the film looks. It looks more of a Disney movie than especially compared to the last one. Because it did look like a Disney movie. It looked like a Lucas Paramount movie. And like I said, this did not need to be close to 2.5 hours long. It did not need to be that long of a running time. And the action sequences, they're not good at all. And especially it was a whole lot more CGI, which made it look cheap. You know, this film cost like what, 295 plus all the marketing and stuff. That's like close to over 300 million. The CGI was cheap looking, especially the beginning. Which, get into the beginning. We get a flashback. Was it 1994? Because of the time with the Nazis, and once again dealing with Nazis because the first and the third film we had Nazis, then The fourth one was Russians. But once again, we're dealing with Nazis. And we see a young Indiana Jones, young Harrison Ford. And I gotta say, the first thing I gotta say with how they de-aged Harrison Ford, it just looked phony. To me, it looked phony. For all the money they spent to try to de-age Harrison Ford, the way Harrison Ford was talking, because Harrison Ford is old now, right? He doesn't have to say how he was years ago, right? Yeah, they use his old voice. I can tell he like his older voice through this, trying to make it sound like go through with a younger face. It just doesn't work. And the thing is, though, the way that his face looked, I swear, I swear his face, if it wasn't the rest of his body was animated, right? I swear he looked like he would be something out of a Final Fantasy movie, right? This is the way how they de-aged the CGI of the de-aged Harrison Ford. He looked like a character would be in a Final Fantasy movie or video game. I mean, that's how bad it looked. I mean, I've seen characters of actors de-aged much better when they de-age actors from flashbacks. When I've seen they look much better, like in Captain America: Civil War. In Captain America: Civil War, when they de-aged Robert Downey Jr., that looks pretty good. Or the beginning of the first Ant-Man movie, when they de-aged Michael Douglas, that was good. But with Tron Legacy, when they tried to make a young Jeff Bridges, that didn't hold up at all. Even from 2010, it still didn't hold up. That was not good for de-aged Jeff Bridges. But here, the young Harrison Ford de-aging just looks like he belongs in a Final Fantasy. Just the way, seeing the face and the way he was talking, the speaking right, and just it just bugs me, you know. But maybe I'm just over exaggerating. I'm sorry, but I'm not. To me, the aging of the young Harrison Ford, it looked phony. So, if you're hearing those banging shots, some stupid idiot is shooting off fireworks again. The 4th of July is over. Stop shooting fireworks, idiots. But stupid But he's there because he has a buddy by the name of Shaw, played by Toby Jones. Toby Jones, who played Dobby from Harry Potter. He played Artem Zola from the MCU, from the Captain America movies. He appeared in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. He's been in many movies. Toby Jones. So he's a friend of Indiana Jones. And they're trying to get this artifact, which appears to be the spear, the spear that stabbed Jesus Christ. When he was on the cross, the spear that stabbed him. They're supposed to be looking for that, and then on top of that, there's another artifact, the Dial of Destiny, which the main villain, played by Mads Mikkelsen, which I met Mads Mikkelsen sometime years ago, when I posted my video of that a long time ago. You can check that out. It's still on there. You can check it out. It's just click on it. It's like me meeting Mads Mikkelsen. It's still on my channel. You can still find it. And Mads Mikkelsen as the main villain, he's a guy who's a Nazi scientist who's interested in the Dial of Destiny. And one thing lead to another. Like, he's like, when Harrison Ford, he's supposedly getting hanged, but then there's a missile CGI explosion where he gets out of it. Then eventually leads onto the train. Leads onto the train, and when they finally get to that spear of that lance spear, the Jesus spear, whatever, turns out it's a fake. So, and then Toby Jones overhears about the Dial of Destiny, tells Indy which the piece that Mads Mikkelsen has is only half the piece. So you want to try and take that. when it comes to when they're on the top of the train, it's just big old green screen. And like I said, the whole green screen shots of them on top of the train just looked cheap. For this one that cost so much, it looked cheap. You know, to me it does look like it was cheap for the whole green screen. Okay, so maybe I should stop. Maybe it's because I'm trying. Maybe this one was putting me to sleep now because I'm trying to stay awake. But anyway, and then he gets this fight with this colonel, which I recognize the guy. He's the guy who played Baron von Strucker from the ending of Captain America: The Winter Soldier during the post credits. Right, he's Baron von Strucker was experimenting on the Maximoff twins, and then he appears at the beginning of Age of Ultron, which later Ultron kills him off screen. But you see an image of him as dead though. But yeah, that's the guy who played Baron von Strucker in the MCU. So they get a fight, and realistically, Indiana Jones is a pure human. He's not an immortal. He's not invincible. Okay, he's not a superhuman at all. Right? They go into this tunnel. The train goes through this tunnel, and the bad guy, the colonel, the Nazi colonel, Baron von Strucker, I would say, pushes Harrison Ford up, and Harrison Ford, his whole entire back, or the back of his head, right, should be just like grated cheese, basically. His whole back is being scraped all across this tunnel as it's going through it. You know, this. Say I'm a Nazi colonel. I'm pushing Indiana Jones through this tunnel, was going through very fast. Indiana Jones' back should have been scraped all to shit. But no, he has not a single scratch. His leather jacket that he always wears, it's not scratched, damaged at all. I'm sorry. Even with that, his back should have been shredded all to crap. And then Toby Jones gets a gun and shoots the guy, and then with Mads Mikkelsen, okay, what's it with Harrison? Some of these people are not they're not superhuman. They're pure human, right? Like Harrison Ford was, right? Mads Mikkelsen, he's on the roof of the train, and then they come across this water tower. You know, like sometimes you see in westerns, there's a water tower has like a long metal arm. You know, sometimes when maybe cowboys or whatever, they jump onto it from a moving train, whatever. Yeah, but though one comes by and just clearly smacks Mads Mikkelsen in the head, and he sends him flying off the train. That moment, especially at that speed of the train, Mads Mikkelsen should have been dead instantly. It should have just taken his head off, completely off. At that speed the train was on, with that thing, bang, his head. He should have been decapitated. He should have been dead. But no, when it's decades later, he's totally fine. Not like a big old mark or bruise, a permanent bruise or a scar, anything on his face. He should have. If anyone saw that, if anyone have a brain on this, knows that he should have been dead instantly. If you speak of the speed on a train, Speed with Keanu Reeves and Dennis Hopper, he got his head decapitated by a red stoplight at that speed on a subway train, you know, and especially if it was a subway train going at that speed, Dennis Hopper got decapitated by an object that was going fast on a train. But here, you know, decapitated. Yeah, well, I'm taller. Which I'd rather watch Speed than this, though. But Mads Mikkelsen should have been decapitated instantly at that rate of speed. Hey, I'm like, he should have been dead, no question about it. But no, he's perfectly fine decades later. And so they get the artifact, and then this funny thing is, there's this big old machine gun that Nazis were having. And some planes on our side shoots them, and then the gun just sets off. And very coincidentally, and very lucky, I would say, takes out all the Nazis that were on that train that was way behind Indiana Jones that were coming to get him. All these Nazis that were on top of the train, whatever. Luckily, this gun was shooting all on its own, and just takes out all the all the Nazis in the back. Very lucky, you know. Indiana Jones pretty much didn't do much of anything in this movie for the most part, you know. I mean, he could have had, that would have been a cool thing if he would have, you know, he could have used the machine gun to kill all the Nazis, or use his whip or whatever. No. It was just very lucky that thing was still going on its own, and it killed all the Nazis in the back. So, after that, they jump off because the bridge got blown, and so they get the artifact, and now it's decades later. It's 1969, and this is when the astronauts, the famous astronauts, they came back from the moon landing. And Harrison Ford, this is how they just shit on this character. Harrison Ford, first time we see him, he wakes up, and he's in his freaking underwear. Nothing but wearing his underwear. And now Marion Ravenwood, she's now separated from him. Again. So, I was getting tired of this. You know, I'm just tired of all these people just keep on screwing franchises over. You know, sometimes it ends perfectly. It means it to keep on going. Saying it time and time again, on and on and on. But no, they don't listen. They don't, because they don't care. All it cares about is the bottom dollar. But yeah, we see him in his freaking underwear, and being like the angry old neighbor, you know, doing like the angry old neighbor with a bat and telling the neighbors to keep the noise down. And then he's at a university or whatever, and he's changed to class, and nobody's listening to him, nobody's paying attention. And except the one girl, which named Helena Shaw, who's the daughter of Toby Jones. And she's the goddaughter to Indiana Jones. Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And I gotta say, I hated this character. I hated this character. It's not the actress's fault. It's not Phoebe Waller-Bridge's fault. It's how they wrote the character. And she was so unlikable. Because also, like I said, she's basically kind of like a Mary Sue. Pretty much knows everything, you know. She's basically a wannabe female Indiana Jones. And it was mostly about her. Like, felt like, you know, like, yeah, I felt like most of the time was mostly about her, and Indiana Jones was pushed aside. You know, he was basically a sidekick in his own movie, basically. And you know how sad that is? I mean, she just pretty much knows freaking everything about this Dial of Destiny, and pretty much most of the movie, she just talks down to Harrison Ford, to Indiana Jones. I mean, it's like you're having daddy issues. Now you have Godfather issues. I mean, I do not like this character. She's easily the worst character in this franchise. And what she does, like, she pretty much almost a couple times almost gets Indiana Jones killed. I mean, when they found the piece that he hid, because they said they were going to destroy it, but he said he was going to destroy it for Toby Jones, but he didn't. And she goes and takes the object when I would say the Sunazis, they're not CIA. Well, they're supposed to be like a woman that was working, I guess, with CIA or FBI, right? But the bad guy, that works for Mads Mikkelsen, his lead henchman, is played by Boyd Holbrook. Well, I'm not really a fan of this guy either, because I did not like him in Logan, which is also directed by James Mangold. I did not like him in Logan, and especially I did not like him in The Predator from 2018. I thought he was a boring lead. I think it should have been Thomas Jane as the lead. with him and his son, who's basically ripping off Mercury and Ryzen, where Boyd Holbrook had a son. It could basically just understand instantly understands the Predator's language, and wears the mask and has the blaster and shoots somebody's house and thinks nothing of it, and just walks away. That film just pissed me off. I don't want to go into that. That film just pissed me off. But I'm not a fan of Boyd Holbrook. And when they chase him, Phoebe Waller-Cage basically just locks the door behind him and basically leaving him to get killed, basically. So it basically becomes unlikable she is. And a lot of times she was talking down to Indiana Jones, like either way he's being old or not a good godfather or whatever. And she's taking the piece, basically trying to sell it, and like the chase sequences where the fight actions, whatever, is not that overall good. I mean, the whole horseback riding through the parade and eventually to the subway where Indiana Jones gets out of the way, CG. It wasn't that good. It was just boring. That's the thing. Most of this film was pretty much boring overall. And that's what I would expect for Indiana Jones, especially a lot of CGI heavy stuff, and all the stupid things, people give this film shit, The more I watched this, the whole alien aspect of the story, to me that was interesting, and people do not like that part. To me, it was much more interesting with aliens more than the freaking time travel incidents. And first of all, these films were never meant to be realistic anyway, I mean, you have the Ark here that can pretty much melt people's faces off. Temple of Doom, you have people ripping hearts out. Oopsie-day. Last Crusade, you have a knight who's been waiting there for pretty much 600, close to 1,000 years waiting. With the gold chalice, they could turn someone with, they could make you immortal, or if not, turn to bones and dust. He chose poorly. And then with the King of the Crystal Skull, with a crystal skull with hypnotic powers, and these films were never meant to be realistic anyway. And especially this film gave this film so much hate, which I don't get. And so after that, the boring chase. Then they have to go to Greece and. Well, actually, no, because Helen Shaw stole the thing, and they have to go to this. I forget what the name of the country is. I forget. And so he gets there, but before that, because Asala returns, played by John Rhys-Davies, which he came back because trying to keep canon from the first and third movies. And yeah, it was nice to see John Rhys-Davies as Sulla, because part of the nostalgia, which was one thing I hate nowadays. I hate nostalgia now. I freaking hate the nostalgia now. But I can let one or two moments of that slide, though, which I'll get to, though. But it's nice to see John Rhys-Davies, though, but he doesn't do much. He appears this one part where he's dropping them off, and then he appears at the very end. So maybe, 4 minutes total? So he drops him at the airport, and he's saying, "Give him hell, Indy!" And then Harrison Ford was too stupid, not looking where he's going. He almost gets hit by a car. Because he wasn't looking where he was going. And so he gets to that place where this gambling auctioneer or whatever, and then Mikkelsen and his gang is there, and saying that he gets there and tries to take it and saying, "Oh, you stole it." And then Mikkelsen says, "No, you stole it." And then Helena Shaw says, "No, I stole it. It's called capitalism." Stealing is capitalism is in stealing. Yeah, stupid. Stealing is not capitalism. And then, of course, the scene where you've seen the trailer where he tells him to get back with his whip, and all the guys pull out their guns. He ducks down, they shoot, which, as soon as he ducks down, they continue shooting when he's ducked down. Don't you, you can just get to the side of the table and start shooting him, whatever? Whatever, stupid. And then, And then Helena Shaw, the character, she has this little sidekick that's with him. I don't know what the kid's name or guy's name. I mean, he kind of looks like a shitty version of Short Round, from Temple of Doom, right? The little sidekick that's with them. And I forget his name that also played Data from the Goonies as well. He's basically a shitty version of that, but except he was more annoying. The kid, the guy was with Phoebe Waller. He was annoying and irritating. I couldn't stand this guy either. So, and they getting a car chase, which wasn't all that exciting, and just basically Phoebe Waller Bridge, trying to be like basically a female version of Indiana Jones, because she pretty much knows a lot of things, and God, it was just impressive, but chasing was so boring. But they get the piece back, and they go to Greece to find this another part of the piece, and so. Like I said, all this is pretty much just way over an hour and a half in, and still got maybe just another hour to go, and just was. That's what this film is. It's plain and simple. It's plain and simple boring, and so the kid stays back, and while Shaw and Indy they climb a rock, Indy makes a reference from Temple of Doom, mentioning about the voodoo and the whole voodoo ritual and stuff like that. So you get a nod to that. And then eventually they find this grave or tomb, and because they notice that there's the skeleton, the creator of the Dial of Destiny. The guy who created the Dial of Destiny at the time during the siege of Syracuse. And they see there's a watch that is attached to him, and saying, "Wait a minute, they invented watches for over 1,000 years or whatever. So how could he have a watch?" Assuming that he used the dial. But and then Mads Mikkelsen is there. He shoots Indy. He shoots him right here, and now he becomes the damsel in distress. And it's now Phoebe Waller-Bridge has to save him. So that's what I mean by him being a psychic in his own movie, and that's freaking pathetic. But yeah, he gets shot, and Mads Mikkelsen, they get the other pieces. Well, no, sorry, I was jumping way ahead. I jumped way ahead here. That's how this film was so boring. I forgot though the another part. Before all that, they go to visit because Indiana Jones, because another piece of them is deep under the water, right? So he knows another friend of his that can help deep dive with him, right? And his friend is played by Antonio Banderas. Antonio Banderas, he was so wasted in this role. And first of all, anybody could have played this role of this friend of Indiana Jones. Anyone could have played this role. He's only in for like 5 minutes total, and he was useless. He was pretty much so useless and wasteful in this character. Because by the time his crew is shot by Mads Mikkelsen, and then eventually he gets shot as well. So I'm like, geez, this is such a big waste of Antonio Banderas. Like I said, anybody could have played this role. And while they were on the boat, before all that, when they were on the boat traveling to the location and where the other piece of the dial is, because it's down below, and he can help them deep dive. You do get an emotional moment from Harrison Ford, where explaining, because this is about time travel, right? And Shaw is asking, what would you do? It's like if you could go back in time, what would you do? And Indy, it says I would prevent my son enlisting. Because one thing, that's another thing that's ruined this whole thing at the ending of this. Shia LaBeouf's character, I know they couldn't bring it back because how batshit crazy as nowadays. But the thing is, though, they just should have stuck with the ending of this. It would leave well enough alone, you know. But no, they don't. Shia LaBeouf's character of Mutt, Henry Jones Jr. the Third, he's dead. Yeah, so he's dead because he enlisted because during the Vietnam War. So that was another cheap shot they took to ruin that character. Now he's dead now. But I was saying, he said, but you get, like I said, you get emotional moments, and when Helena is saying that, what would you do? Go back in time. What would you do? So Indiana Jones is saying, I would prevent my son enlisting. And she's saying, how? How would you do that? And Indiana Jones says, I would tell him that he would die, that his mother would overcome with a grief so intense that his father would be unable to console her, and that it would be and that it would end their marriage. So you do get a nice emotional moment from Indiana Jones, you know, about his son, right? And then, but the thing is, now that Helen goes and ruins it by saying to him, "Oh, why do you still wear the ring? Why do you still wear the wedding ring he still has on?" So, emotional moment, now that's ruined because of that. Because once again, she does nothing but just belittle him. Pretty much this whole entire movie. I'm like, screw you, bitch. You know. You're just a wannabe version of him that pretty much knows everything, whatever. And you just making him just, you know, oh, because he's old. I get it, and okay, jeez. I just hate this character of Helena, and then after the deep dive, they get the piece right, and then they shoot Antonio Banderas. Like I said, waste of Antonio Banderas. Like, that was pretty much the easiest paycheck I had to get. He was such a useless role that he was in. And after, by the time they escape, Helena's like, oh yeah, pretty much, yeah, we escaped, you know. And then Indy goes and says, oh, but my friend was just murdered, and just like, oh, sorry. I'm like, at that point, I just want to reach through that screen to strangle her, you know, like. People are like, oh, sorry. I'm like, fuck you, you know? Fuck you, Helena Shaw. Not the actress. It's not her fault, like I said. It's the character, I would say. Fuck you, Helena Shaw. If I reached that screen, I would have strangled the crap out of you. Pretty much shows no respect, you know? So that's what she cares about, the freaking dial. That's what she cares about. And then we get a flashback to back when Harrison Ford was talking to Toby Jones, because Toby Jones has been obsessing over this dial, and it shows when young Helena was a girl. Blah blah blah. Whereas they get to go to Greece, or I think it was Greece. They find the tomb, the piece. That's when Harrison Ford, Mads Mikkelsen shoots Harrison Ford. They take he's now the damsel now, and Mads Mikkelsen's playing because the reason why he wants to get the dial, because he wants to use the dial to go back to 1939, he said, and he wants to kill Hitler, because say the Hitler that he lost too many wars, you know, it's time for a new leader. It's time for a new leader to win the war. So. And then I'm thinking, doesn't Hitler like have any higher ups or like a right hand in case, you know, if Hitler ever does die, who will be the next chain of command to lead this war, right? Like him. But I guess so. Like, oh, since he killed him, like I guess with Mikkelsen, nobody would know who he is. That's a factor. That's a flaw. I think that's a flaw in Mads Mikkelsen's plan. Jeez. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen, I mean, acting-wise, he's doing the best he can. I mean, I like Mads Mikkelsen, but he's doing the best he can, but he can't save this movie. Like I said, he should have been dead right from the very beginning after being smacked that hard at a high-speed train. Should have had his head cut off at that point. But no, he's still alive and kicking. Even though no possible brain damage at all. So they take him on the plane, and then Helena has his little side character, shitty short round, whatever, get a plane, because now this kid can fly a plane now. So they get on, both planes take off, the dial opens up. I guess Mads Mikkelsen didn't count on the fact of continental drift, and they see a hole in the sky, they go through it, but it's not 1939 that he was hoping for, it's the siege of Syracuse, over 1,000 years ago. And we see that the guy who's the creator of the Dial Destiny, and all the people down there, they see this plane before because they know what a plane is. They say, oh, it's a dragon, or whatever, and then they start shooting at it. And Phoebe Waller has to save Indiana Jones. And all this humor that just did not work, all the jokes, whatever jokes they did, just did not work. I did not find funny in this movie at all. And so him and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, they jump out of the plane while Mads Mikkelsen, Boy Holbrook, their plane crashes, they both die. And the guy who creates the Dial Destiny, he sees Mads Mikkelsen's watch. So I guess at that time, yeah, that's how pretty much, what we saw in the future, that's how his skeleton had the watch on him. I guess that happened, and he got the watch there. And so they see Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford is saying, hey, just leave me here, and I'll be a part of history, because, I mean, the woman is saying, hey, you're coming back, right? Oh, I'm like, all of a sudden now she cares about Indiana Jones after she gave him so much shit throughout this whole movie. Oh, now all of a sudden you care now? I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Oh, whoop. After I belittled you, gave you so much crap this whole entire movie, all of a sudden, whoop, 180. Oh, now I care about you. Sorry, I don't buy that. But he said he wanted to be left there because then he'll be a part of history. And then the guy comes in, gives him the piece that they had and the watch back, and then Helena knocks Indiana Jones out. And the next day, he wakes up in his apartment. So, and then he wakes up, after that, he wakes up, and then Karen Allen comes in, once again as Marion Ravenwood. Now, you do get, okay, like I said, how much I keep harping on nostalgia, I will say this one piece that I did like. I will give it this, because like a poke fun of the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? And then saying how Harrison Ford is saying, oh, when we saying how does it hurt, and Harrison Ford says right here and right here, and then Marion Karen Allen pretty much does the same thing, but except it's right how it hurts, where it hurts right here. And it hurts right here. I mean, you do that was a part of nostalgic from the first movie. I did like. I'll give it that, to be honest. Like I said, the little slim pause. Like I said, the nod to that, the little nod to the Temple of Doom, and then the little emotional moment that he had with Bob Garner by his son, but that gets ruined by freaking Helena, And so, kind of like reconcile with their marriage, and then John Rhys-Davies, and he has kids and grandkids. They all go out for ice cream, I think. And then we see his fedora hat hanging on a clothesline, and that's, for the last Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. Okay, probably another positive thing I will say. At least they did not kill off Harrison Ford. At least they did not kill off Indiana Jones. Okay, I'll give them another positive. I'll give them is that they did not kill off Indiana Jones. Otherwise, this has been a full rage rant, Because Because they said, I mean, Rambo 5, what's with all these fives, you know? I mean, Rambo 5, at least they did not kill off Rambo. That was the one positive thing I did say. I mean, what's with the fives all of a sudden? Then also with this, like, this weekend, it's, well, hopefully by the time it is already out, so yeah. The 5th Insidious movie. Red Door. I mean, that's a number 5 as well. But, I hate this movie. I mean, for the last movie we see of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, it was pathetic. It was boring. And you know that Harrison Ford can't do much anymore nowadays because he's 80 years old. He can't do much. I mean, during the making of, a while back, he injured himself. I mean, so many dumb things. Like I said, Mads Mikkelsen's at the beginning. He should have been dead instantly after getting whacked by that pole, but no, he's invincible. He's superhuman. Same with Indiana Jones. Also in the beginning, when during that tunnel, when the Colonel raised him against that tunnel, his back should have been Swiss cheese by then. And how lucky all that machine gun just happened just to swerve and kill all the Nazis shooting them. Too much CGI. More CGI than this. And it was cheap looking. Especially the young Harrison Ford, it looked cheap. He looked like a Final Fantasy character. Mads Mikkelsen as the villain, he was doing the best he can, but he couldn't save this movie. The score by John Williams, supposedly his last score. Other than the retooling of the Indiana Jones theme. Sadly, though, this is one of John Williams' weakest scores he's ever done. Definitely one of the worst scores he's ever done. I mean, the score of the rest of this movie was just bland. It wasn't new, other than using little bits of the Indiana Jones theme. But the rest of the score itself, it was just not good. It was just very generic and bland looking score. And the film was so, like I said, it was so boring. It did not need to be over 2.5 hours long. And I hated the character of Helena Shaw. Like I said, it's not Phoebe Waller-Bridge's fault. It's how they wrote the character that made her unlikable for me. Because all she did was just pretty much just disowning Indiana Jones a lot of time for being a crappy godfather, and you're just too old, all that stuff, yada yada, and saying, even though Antonio Banderas was killed, she was like, oh yay, we're great, and then he's like, my friend was just murdered. Oh, sorry. I was like, screw you, bitch. That's why I hate this character. I hated her little psychic too, the shitty version of Short Round. I mean, and that's rather. I mean, these films are not supposed to be unrealistic. I get it, though, but people need to, people are hating this movie already. So I'm sure people who hate this movie, I'm sure they probably have second thoughts after watching this movie, and they go back, oh, you know what, this film was not that bad as it is, as I first made it out to be. Other than the CGI gophers and the Shia LaBeouf swinging from the trees like Tarzan. Other than that, I still like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I still do. I think that one's the most underrated of the series, and it still is the highest grossing one of the franchise, and now it's always going to be, because this film is bombing badly and deserves it, including its original budget, including all the marketing they put in. And it deserved a bomb. It's once again, Disney does not learn their lessons. They don't. No one was asking for a 5th Indiana Jones film. A lot of people were happy with the ending of this movie. And that was another thing, that Shia LaBeouf's character of Mutt, he's dead now. Jeez. I don't know. This film was way too boring. I did not like the character of Helena. I mean, it was a waste of Antonio Banderas, complete waste. He was just so useless as this. Knock on wood. And the action sequences were not that great either. And they were just pretty much boring action sequences. John Williams' score is by far like the weakest one he's ever did. It was supposed to be, and at least for Indiana Jones, at least they did not kill him off. I'll give it that. And with the ending with Marion Ravenwood coming back, you know, like the whole thing. Oh, this hurts here and here or whatever. I did like that moment from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Anyway, what was the point of making this movie other than just to make money? What other reason is there? I mean, it's been 2008, 2013. It's been 15 years since the last one came out, and Harrison Ford, when he did The Kingdom of Crystal Skull, he was in his mid-60s. Here he's 80, and he's just way too slow now, and probably a lot of his stunt doubles that do the work for him. Like I said, too much bad CGI. And the character I hated was Helena Shaw is easily the worst character in the series. So yeah, I don't think I've yawned so much because this film was made me fall asleep because it was so long and boring. I'm starting to fall asleep from this movie. Jeez, this one was such a huge pile of crap. It is one of my worst. It is one of the worst movies I've seen this year easily. I hate this movie. I mean, just it's so sad because after all of 4 good Indiana Jones films, I knew eventually one was gonna be bad, and guess what? It bombed too. Critical and although they say the reception they got from praise from critics say it's like pretty much like lukewarm, but still, man, I mean this film bombed. It deserved to bomb. I hate this movie. It just pissed me off. And so these films are not supposed to be realistic either. Like I said, all the crazy stuff that happens in this, and those, I mean. Other than the John Rhys-Davies, what other characters I like in this movie? Pretty much nobody. Nobody I liked is in this movie. I don't care for. So yeah. This film should not have been made in the first place. No, and James Mangold, I liked Logan. Yeah, it's flawed though, but I liked Logan regardless. I enjoyed Copland. I really enjoyed Duke Copland with Sylvester Stallone and Robert De Niro. I enjoyed Copland, but I did not like the Wolverine. Did not. 310 to Yuma, the remake from 2007. I haven't still not yet seen, so I can't judge on that one. So yeah, just Indiana Jones 5. I mean, Disney just don't learn. They don't. They just want to continue to put the noose around their neck and hang themselves when films like these they lose a lot of money. I mean, all the recent anime movies are losing money too. I mean, earlier, a couple weeks ago with the movie Elemental, that's not doing that well either. So. I hate this movie. No franchise is perfect, but the other one's gotta break that boundary. I'll just stick. I'll stick to the first 4, and people need to just people need to appreciate this film more because the more people hate this movie, the more that I'm sure they'll come to appreciate. Oh, this is not quite that bad than the new one, the 5th one. I mean, what I liked was with the ants, which is when they kill that henchman, it gets all in his mouth, and just gets shoved down that anthill. I mean, that was creepier more than anything in this movie. More disturbing. So, Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny. It was such a boring movie. That's what it is. Plain and simple, it was such a boring movie. I want to see in an Indiana Jones movie to be that boring. Wait, girls. I'm glad this film does deserve to bomb. It does. So yeah. I mean, that's my thoughts on Indiana Jones 5. The Dial of Destiny. It's easily the worst one. People just need, look at the I just said a few minutes ago, and I just threw a blank again. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, people need to appreciate this film more. That's why I think the film is underrated. It's not as bad people as make it out to be. But yeah, that's my review. I hated it once again. Hate the movie. But yeah, it's just... I don't know. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you next time. Later. And screw Indiana Jones 5, the Dial of Crap. Later.